Thank you, please.
All right, so just to kind of get everybody up to speed, just talk about,
Okay, now that none of that was usable, okay. Oh, my ums and uhs.
I call
Oh, good.
and you will speak to me.
Awesome.
And I will try not to look down too much. Where's the camera? There. Oh. Oh.
Look good. You'll be speaking to me right there.
Okay.
You're off.
So, how long are people talking?
My story is not long.
Pick up themes like these. This story ties with this story.
Now, focus on you, focus on the camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of it is just going to kind of come together from this one.
Doing your job
Oh.
at this moment than mine.
Yeah, I bet.
So how is this going to work?
When you first met Lou, do you remember the first time you met him?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that. What was
Yeah.
it like?
Are you recording?
Yeah.
Oh. It was 1983, right at the beginning of the year.
This was back in either 1988 or 1989.
Okay, so back in 2008.
I don't remember the first time I met Lou, but it had to be auditioning for the learning stage.
My journey with Lou began 45 or 46 years ago. I'm a little fuzzy on what year that was.
And Lou was brought down from Gainesville to play Sherlock Holmes in the play called Crucifer of Blood. He was incredible. He was, first of all, an incredible actor.
I had started working down in Miami in Coral Gables for theater. I had resigned from there and had no idea what I was going to do next. But I had heard from another person, Kathleen Emmerich, that Lou Tyrrell was looking for a stage manager. So I drove up from Miami to West Palm Beach, dressed as closely to the right way as I can dress. A notebook, a resume. What I thought was going to be an interview wasn't an interview. It really was Lou saying, "Oh, great, meet me at our office." I got to the office. He said, "Okay, we're going to go drop off some plexiglass to the scene shop. We've used this in another show, but we're going to use this in the next show. So if you can help me load this into the station wagon, we're going to take it over to the scene shop." And then after we went to the scene shop, he said, would you mind if we stopped for just briefly at the rehearsal hall? And they said, "Okay, oh no, great. Now let's go back to the office." And I walked into the office, and it was just a house. I think a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom house. And I found out after the fact that it wasn't just the office, it was also where some guy lived at night. So he would be there at night, and he would be living in his home, and then he would leave, and the office staff, they would come in and work during the day, and then they would leave, and this guy would come back to his home. And that's how things worked at Florida Stage. Then Theater Club of the Palm Beaches. And when it was all said and done, and after I'd had my quick meeting with Lou, I realized I didn't have anything that even resembled an interview. And I thought, I wasn't really being interviewed. What he was doing was convincing me that this might be the place that I should land. Well, he was right.
So Lou hired me from Michigan. Yeah, so we didn't even know each other. I sent a letter, and it apparently intrigued him because he called me.
Oh my God.
Yep.
So Matt calls me up and he says, "Come to lunch with me and Lou. You've got to meet him." And so I said, "Great, I will do that." Sit down to lunch, meet this incredibly energetic, dynamic, wonderful, hysterical, brilliant human. And within an hour of the lunch, Lou had offered me a job that I was clearly not qualified for, but that was okay. Because Lou just seems to have this innate ability to see people not just for who they are, but their potential.
So I first met Lou backstage at Florida Stage. I was doing an educational outreach show that I was performing in. It was my senior year of high school. And all the kids were crazy backstage, hyper, going nuts. And I remember seeing Lou walk through, and I was like, I have to be a professional here because he could get me a job one day. Yeah, it was just a few years. He gave me my first job at Arts Garage as a stage manager right out of college. He treated me like any professional that was walking in. He didn't treat me like the high schooler he knew me as.
I don't remember meeting Lou specifically, but I attended an audition and he called me back. And I can tell you then, specifically, 37 years ago, it changed the trajectory of my life. And I have him to thank for my career, the community I met, and the life I built. And I can't say thank you enough.
Not every year, but frequently in July, I would write him a little note because July is when I moved here to work for the theater. I would thank him for my life. I periodically spoke to him or wrote to him to thank him for my life.
So, my Lou, and I think for so many of us in this community, the question is, Lou gave me my first blank, right? And me, like many others, that was true. Lou literally gave me one of my very first opportunities, and that opportunity literally started my professional acting career down here.
My most vivid memory is when I got the phone call. And the phone call was a voicemail talking about the first season and the first event that they were going to have in this space and who they would want to be their music director for that. He enthusiastically said, "We would like it to be you, to be the music director." And I have to say that I still have that phone message and I still listen to it.
I think the most precious thing in my life is my family. The second most precious thing in my life is my writing career, and he gave that to me. And I tell people all the time, before I met Lou, I was a guy who wrote plays. After I met Lou, I was a playwright.
Yeah. Well, I was on my fourth production of Learning Stage, I believe it was, and my life was just in shambles. It had fallen apart, which made me incapable of, fulfilling my role as an actor in this production. And so Lou, in his inimitable way, canned me. Very gently, but he said, "You're fired." And which, he was well within his rights. But when I got my act together and was ready to come back, he was the first one to hire me back.
He championed new plays, yes, but he also championed new playwrights. He took the art form seriously. He loved what he was doing, but he also wanted to make it fun. He also wanted everybody to have a good time. He wanted it to be a good place to work.
When you get to work on something new, that is the greatest feeling of all. Because you create something together. And Lou was really good at not only finding the pieces that were really interesting and fascinating and wonderful, but to work with the playwright and the actors simultaneously in developing and rewriting and changing and working. And that was the great pull. That was the magnet.
I think Lou was very interested in connecting with his artists in a personal way. I think the project was an excuse for him to create a community of artists, to connect with that community of artists, to give that community of artists a place to do their craft.
It was never about the accolades. It was always about the work, the people, the relationship, and he just cared so deeply about the people and the process that all the rest of it, the critics, the awards, he could really give two shits about it. Can I say that? Two shits?
I think for Lou, he cared about plays, he cared about new work, obviously, and he brought people around him that cared about those things. But he also understood that doing theater, being an artist, being any kind of theater artist, is hard work. So why must we make it so painful? Why can't it be fun?
He wanted to make sure that the actors coming in were treated well, that they had a good time, that Florida Stage was developing a reputation for a place that people wanted to work.
The environment that he and Nan created at Florida Stage was such one of family and of basic common sense. It wasn't highfalutin. It was, if that makes sense. And it certainly was an environment that once the audience left the room and the last audience member left the chamber, the beer coolers came out, food came out, it's just, and this sense of we're home, this is family, we're artists, and this is what we do.
My favorite time that I got to work with him was I was a stage manager for To Fall in Love, and he was the director. And so it was working with Lou, Matt, Nikki. So it was like working with the Theater Lab fam. And Lou, he had been doing theater for decades at that point, but he still had that joyful, passionate energy.
When I started at Florida Stage in 1992, I had already stage managed a lot. But I realized really quickly that I was not really a great stage manager. I was always nice, and people always loved me, and I could certainly say go at the right time. But with Lou's mentorship and kindness, I think he inadvertently turned me into a better stage manager. And maybe it wasn't inadvertently. Maybe it was vertently.
So the tour begins. And every morning, and I have to say I hate mornings, Lou and I would meet at the Hippodrome, and the conversation became kind of a running gag. How you doing, Dan? I'm alive. And then we'd climb into the van, and we'd drive to the school, and we'd put up the tree, and we'd make magic. And we'd do 2 shows, and then the next day we'd do it all over again. I miss you, brother. Okay, maybe not at 5 a.m, but when I'm awake.
Have you ever seen the little leather web things that they sell at kind of gift shops that are called dream catchers? Okay. So the dream catcher is a tradition from the Ojibwe people of the Southwest, this tribe. And they used to hang it over their babies' beds at night to keep their dreams from escaping while they slept. And what it teaches us is that our essence as human beings is to be driven by dreams. And that's who Lou was for me. He understood that. He was like a human dream catcher. He made probably hundreds, if not thousands, of people's dreams come true.
He was my champion. I'm gonna cry. It means a lot to have someone of his caliber to champion you and your work. And that's what he was to me.
I loved him, and he marked me. And he will forever remain a part of who I am.
I have this beautiful memory of when my husband was coming home from the hospital, and I needed to get him up the steps to our house, and it was raining. And I thought, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I called Lou on the way home from the hospital, and I said, hey, I'm going to need some help. And at that time, they lived right around the corner from me. And I called him, and I got to the street, and there was Lou at the bottom of the stairs with an umbrella waiting. And he helped us get Don in the house, and with grace got us settled, and then disappeared.
Anything else that you want to add to all that? Because I got everything I needed.
Good.
All right, good.
Yay.
All right, get to cook.